Before we begin our neighborhood meeting with the South Lake Sammamish community neighborhoods, I wanted to just go through a few meeting logistics. If you have called in or you're joining us via video, everyone should be muted at this time. After our presentation, we will open it up for questions and you can raise your virtual hand. You'll find the hand button next to your name in the participant list, or you can type that you have a question in the chat box. If you have joined, we'll then unmute you and call on you so that you can ask your question or provide feedback or comments. If you've joined us by phone, you will not be able to unmute yourself, but you can press *3 on your phone to raise your hand and we will call on you that way. And then you can press *3 again to lower your hand. So you are welcome and encouraged to use your video during the call. We like to see your faces. The video call button is next to the mute button at the bottom. Again, when the button is red, you are not on video. When it is black, you are on video. And if someone is not on video, you will see a circle with their initials. And finally, we are recording this meeting so that we can share it with those who couldn't join us tonight, both your neighbors and our council members. We do have some council members here this evening, too. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce them and get them to say a few words. The three that we have with us this evening are Deputy Council President Chris Ray, Council Member Barbara DeMichelle, and Council Member Zach Hall. So I'd like to go to Chris first and ask you to introduce yourself, tell us how long you have served on council, how long you have lived in Issaquah, and what is your favorite Issaquah restaurant?
I think this is grossly unfair, and you always pick on me first, and so I should get prepared for you to do this. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Ray. I have the honor this year of serving as the council's deputy president. I have been on the council now for just slightly over 2.5 years. It seems like far, far longer in some ways, and it seems like yesterday in others. I have lived in Issaquah for 12 years. I've lived in the area for about 30. And favorite restaurants really, really hard. And was the part that I was putting off to the end so I could like obfuscate on it. But you know, I am really, really into down in Gilman Village. Mesa Mexican Kitchen is just amazing. Their nachos are to die for. Their margaritas are phenomenal, and everything else there is just off the charts good.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Chris. Councilmember DeMichelle, would you care to introduce yourself and same set of questions?
Thank you. So glad to be here tonight. I have been on I was just trying to figure out how long have I been on the council. It's been about 10 months now. Yes, it's been an exciting and I'm sure very different 10 months from the usual. So we've had some real challenges. I've lived in Issaquah for 35 years. I live in Old Town on Front Street and can walk into downtown. So I really like where I'm living. And my favorite restaurant, that's a tough one for me too. I'm going to choose Tutabella, which is just has great salads and great pasta. And when I just want to eat something that I really love, that's where I go.
That is awesome. Thank you, Barb. And Deputy Council President Ray, did you mention which neighborhood you're in for everybody? I don't remember.
No, I did not. I live in Tallis.
Awesome, thanks. And last but not least, our youngest council member Zach Hall. You're up.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Zach Hall. I've served on council since early mid-January, so brand new. I've lived in Issaquah my whole life. I grew up in actually the South Cove neighborhood, so I was really excited to be able to join this meeting and hear from you all because I grew up in your neck of the woods. And favorite restaurant? I have a lot of favorites, so I'll just highlight one of my favorites, which is Japan Ginger on Front Street. Great place to get teriyaki or sushi, and Simon who is the owner there. It's just awesome. So I would highly recommend trying it if you haven't.
Thank you, Councilmember Hall. I'll, to be fair, do the same. I have been in the mayor's seat as long as Deputy Council President Ray has been on council, so 2.5 years. I served one term on council before that, which is 4 years, and then volunteered for 20 years on the city's development commission. So this is kind of my favorite stuff to do. I did live on Squack Mountain for 22 years, and now I reside in Old Town near Memorial Field. And I'm kind of the same as Councilmember Hall. I could list a dozen favorite restaurants. I think the food in Issaquah is fantastic. But the one I'm going to give a shout out to is it's the special occasion restaurant for my family, which is Montalcino, which is a small Italian restaurant just off of Front Street on Alder. There's a new owner, and he's participating in the streetery, and he's got a fantastic outdoor setup. So, you know, shop local, everybody. This is what we got to do. I'd also like to introduce some of our staff today. Our assistant to the city administrator, Autumn Monahan, is here, and our communications coordinator, Thomas Rush. And they are both members of our city communication team, and they oversee our neighborhood engagement program. So these are the folks that you work with when you would like to organize a meeting and have us come and chat with you. And so I'm very grateful for what they did to get this all set up. We also are joined by Matt Ellis, who works for our public works team, and Jordan Longacre, who works in communications for the Washington State Department of Transportation. I'm grateful that while we're all staying at home and staying healthy, that we still have access to technology like this so that we can still connect in real time. And we have heard more than ever that it is very important to stay connected right now, especially to your local leadership. So we would love to get your feedback tonight. To start, I just want to say how thankful I am for our community's continued support as we navigate these very difficult, challenging, and uncertain times during the COVID-19 pandemic. So as most of you know, the state has created a phased approach to reopening. It's called Safe Start, and it varies the reopening of different counties, county by county. King County is right now in phase 2. We have very limited recreational and social activities allowed. And that said, our county has seen an increase in cases, and we're monitoring the situation very closely. News over the last few days is we might be headed back in the right direction again, which I think is a really positive and hopeful situation. So I've gotten a lot of questions about what the state's Safe Start plan means for King County, and specifically for Issaquah. As mayor, I look to the state and King County to set the safety standards based on data, health expertise, and science for our entire region. And as a city, we are here to implement those standards and ensure that the community is following the orders and address our community specific needs, such as rental assistance, helping our partner nonprofits, and targeting some support for local businesses. So I'm committed to engaging our community on what reopening during this pandemic means to Issaquah. And so soon after the pandemic hit, I formed a fabulous team of 11 local community members called the Issaquah Recovery Task Force. They have been advising myself and my administration on various issues related to responding to the COVID-19 pandemic and the future reopening of city services and programs. Not everything that we do is available right now, so we still have some work to do. There are several resources available to our community, and the examples of actions that we have taken during this is we did put a moratorium on late tenant fees. We did provide some emergency funding for rental assistance and business support. And our senior center staff, while the senior center itself cannot open, they have been spending time calling those in our senior population to periodically check in and provide support. They're also providing, senior centers providing a hot meal to go once a day. And so in addition to all these things, there's a lot of activities that have gone on since March. I can hardly believe that March is when all of this came about. But you can look at that and any other resources that we have up on our website at issaquahwa.gov/COVID-19. That's issaquahwa.gov/COVID-19. So I also want to take a moment to address racial equity issues that have been in the news for a few months now. And recently in Issaquah, an estimated 500 community members peacefully marched down Front Street to City Hall for a Black Lives Matter demonstration. There were council members, there were local leaders, there were citizens, there was children, there was our police members were there as well. It was a very amazing and moving silent walk from Confluence to City Hall. Personally, for me, I feel a lot of heartbreak and anger over the senseless murder of George Floyd and the wave of racist events, and treatment of protesters across the country, and the systemic racism that continues to exist in our country. The Issaquah City Council and I are committed to taking action for change in Issaquah, and earlier this week, the City Council endorsed an action plan for moving forward with short, midterm, and long-term steps towards increased police accountability and also equity and human services. So more details on that plan are located at issaquahwa.gov/equity. And I want to thank the council for the great comments that we got this week on the work that we're about to undertake. So in a few minutes, I'm going to ask Jordan from WSDOT to cover the state's project for I-90. I know that this particular work has a high interest in your neighborhoods at South Lake Sammamish because of its proximity to West Lake Sammamish Parkway and the desired multimodal trail that the community would like to see built. So thanks to our partnership with WSDOT, this project will also make room for that trail and will someday be able to add pedestrian and cycle amenities in this area. The city's current capital improvement plan includes a $15 million project estimate that spans from 193rd Place Southeast to the State Park entrance and includes a multi-use trail on one side of the roadway, bike lanes on both sides, and streetlights, and the undergrounding of overhead power and stormwater improvements. While this project is in our capital improvement plan, it still requires a funding source, such as a voter-approved transportation bond. And unfortunately, we have a very long list of projects, and we are not going out for a bond this year. At one point, the council was considering it, and for various reasons, and COVID included, not enough work could get done in time to decide to do that. So we are not planning on going out for a project bond this year. So it's going to take some time. And we're researching options, and we'll keep the neighborhood informed. And Autumn, correct me if I'm wrong, is this something that you cover on our website under the South Sammamish Lake community? Okay, great, thanks.
Yes, I'll include the link in the chat.
Oh, excellent, thank you very much. So if you want to get updates, issaquahwa.gov/South Lake Sammamish has updates on both that project and the future project. So another thing I thought I might share a few thoughts on is the utility line work that's happening in your neighborhood. So for the past several years, the city has been replacing aging infrastructure in your neighborhood, including 50-year-old water mains, relining sewer mains, and repaving old roads. So far this year, we've replaced the water mains along Southeast 44th Way and 191st Avenue Southeast, and those roadways have been patched. And a full repaving of the roads that were patched and need repaving due to age is scheduled for 2021 or 2022, as long as our budget allows. Next up this year, we will also be relining some sewer mains in South Cove. Crews started August 3rd, and the project will last about 6 weeks. The sewer will be temporarily shut off for a 4-hour period during the sewer lining on each street. And homeowners will be notified a minimum of 2 working days in advance of the sewer shutoff with door hangers. So expect more work on our water and sewer systems in your neighborhoods over the next several years. A quick other update for this area, our crews just repaired and replaced about 250 feet of concrete curb, gutter, and sidewalk on Southeast 44th Court as part of our routine concrete maintenance program. One other item I'm just going to talk about really quickly is that there is also an economic crisis going on, and cities are not immune from that. Many of the revenue sources that cities use to provide city services have diminished significantly. The council is about to undertake their big annual task of approving a budget for 2021, probably the most uniquely challenging year in decades for a council to decide what to do with these reduced revenues. But you can follow us through September and October as they go through the information and make these hard decisions. So that's coming up starting in about a month. And right now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce Jordan Longacre to provide a brief view of WSDOT's I90 project. Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor Polly. I appreciate it. And good evening to everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me to come here to share with you this presentation. So this is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Transportation. Again, my name is Jordan Longacre. I'm a communications specialist and public information officer with WSDOT. And this presentation is regarding the I90 Eastgate to SR 900 corridor improvemements along I90. Next slide. I'll just give you a quick overview of this project. You know, we've seen a real growth in the population here in the Puget Sound, and as many of you know, that has brought a lot more traffic congestion. And I'm sure if you've been driving along I-90 or I-5 or any of those main corridors, you've definitely seen quite an uptick in the amount of cars that are on them. So in an effort to really ease this congestion, we have a contractor crews that are working for WashDOT trying to add capacity on I-90 between the Eastgate and South Lake Sammamish Parkway interchanges. If we go back one slide, I'll just show you they're going to be restriping kind of the existing roadway here. So we are going to be adding these auxiliary lanes that you see where the orange is between these two interchanges. Next slide, we'll talk about the auxiliary lanes and what those look like. If you're not familiar with an auxiliary lane, essentially these are supplemental or extra lanes that are added between closely spaced interchanges. So these lanes are going to give drivers a lot more time to safely enter and exit the freeway, to be able to merge and speed up or slow down. So we're not really increasing the size necessarily of I-90, but we're able to kind of utilize the space that's already there, kind of restripe it a little bit, work it a little better, so we can improve that safety for drivers as they're getting on and off of the highway. Next slide. So part of this project involves building sound walls or noise barriers. This is really important for people who live along I-90. You'll notice that as we add those extra lanes, there's going to be an increase of traffic volumes. So we had some noise studies that were conducted back in 2017 to look at what the expected traffic volumes would do if they were increased by adding these lanes. And we found that there were some areas where a little bit of increase in noise would naturally occur. So in order to mitigate that, we've added some of these noise walls and noise barriers into the project. So this is going to help a lot of people that live along this corridor and live really close to the freeway, hopefully bring that noise volume down. Currently, we have wall 6A under construction. You'll see that's the one that's kind of in a pinch point area that we call it, down there at the bottom of Lake Sammamish, right on Northwest Sammamish Road. So that's the wall that's currently under construction. If you've driven along the freeway or Northwest Sammamish Road, you've probably seen that wall being built. You can go to the next slide. So let's talk about that work on Northwest Sammamish Road. This has obviously been a really big piece of our project right now. In order to conduct all this drilling that's necessary to put in these sound walls, we've had to close the eastbound lane of Northwest Sammamish Road for 90 days. We started that closure in July, so July 27th. So we're looking at about 90 days, which is probably about towards the end of October that we'd expect this work to take place, as long as there's no unexpected surprises, and always things are weather dependent. Our crews are going to be working Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you haven't seen them out there already, that's been their typical work schedule. And I just kind of want to let you know what you can expect during this 90-day closure. So right now, if you've driven that stretch of road, you've noticed that the eastbound lane of Northwest Sammamish Road is actually closed to drivers and also to bicyclists. And this is around the clock closure. This is just to make room for all the machinery we have and make sure that we keep our workers safe as well. Any bicyclists, though, that are trying to head eastbound, they can use the road in the westbound lane, but they're just being asked to dismount their bike at the closure and walk their bike to the other end, so that way they stay safe. And if you're a bicyclist that's traveling westbound, you can ride along just as normal in the lane of traffic safely. There is an eastbound detour. You'll see that in the little graphic there up at the top. This is for those of you who are trying to access the other side of Northwest Sammamish Road. If you're trying to head eastbound, you're going to be turned around and have to go back to Lakemont Boulevard underneath of the freeway over on the other side of I-90, come down and back and around. So it's a little bit of a loop, but again, we're really trying to do this as quickly as possible. So we're right on track, right on schedule with that 90-day closure. You'll also notice that there are flaggers at the easternmost end of the closure. These flaggers are not really there to direct traffic per se, but they're there to help if we have any large machinery moves or anything that needs to access the extra lanes. They'll be there to kind of hold traffic back or to help them. In recent days, we have heard that drivers have been a bit confused with some of the signage and trying to figure things out. So our flaggers have been on site even more regularly just to try and help drivers navigate this closure and understand what they're doing. And we just, again, want to, let you know there is going to be noise that can be expected during this time. So you're going to be hearing, construction vehicles, equipment, backup alarms, heavy machinery, and this will all be done again during those working hours. And if anything is going to be outside of the working hour, we'll definitely put out a noise variance to let you know that might be happening. So on to the next slide. Let's talk about what's next with this project and what you can expect. This is kind of a visual of what you would see if you were to drive along. Right now, that picture there on the left, it represents the road currently as you are accustomed to it. And you'll see there actually is already kind of a retaining wall that exists there. Essentially, we're just replacing that wall to put in these noise walls, but we're moving it over just a little bit to kind of create some more space there. So once we've completed the new noise wall, there's going to be a wider shoulder along portions of Northwest Sammamish Road. And that black area that you see there, that is actually going to be some pavement and then also some crushed rock. And we're leaving that kind of unfinished to allow the city of Issaquah to create some safe spaces for bikers and pedestrians as they're able to. So that space will be available to make that a much more, a much more convenient route for bicyclists and pedestrians to be able to go on. It'll be much safer. So the next phase really includes building noise wall panels for all the different noise walls in the project. We do expect that some of this work is going to actually continue through the winter. Just trying to kind of make up some time since we've, been in this COVID holding pattern for some time. But some of the work will end up happening during the winter season. And you'll notice, I do want to point out too, you'll notice sometimes that the crews seem to be working in an area and then suddenly they're like done and suddenly somewhere else. It doesn't mean that they're actually done in that area. They're just kind of working in segments and going back and completing. So if you think that a noise wall maybe looks like it's stopped short of where you thought it was going to be, just rest assured it will be according to plan and be along that entire stretch. So once those walls have all been built and put into place, the crews will then transfer back over to I90 where they're going to finish the striping on I90. And if you've driven through the area again, you've noticed all the Jersey barriers and all the strange striping going on. But all of those barriers will be removed and all the new striping will be added. And again, we are currently on schedule with all of that, expected to complete the entire thing in the fall of 2021. And the last slide here is just our contact information. So again, my name, maybe I missed that one. We've got, there's the kind of those noise walls from the I90 side, just so that you could see what it would look like if you're driving down I90. So they'll look really nice. But yeah, the next slide is our contact information. Again, I'm Jordan Longacre. I'm a communication specialist. I'm in charge of this project in terms of all the communications and outreach. So if you have any questions related to just community stuff or what might be going on with our project, and you maybe have any suggestions or input, I am happy to receive that from you. So feel free to email me. And then the other contact on there is James Harper. He's our project engineer. So you can always reach out to him as well if you have an engineering specific question. But don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to try and be available and answer any questions you have. But overall, again, this is really about improving safety and making things a lot better through this area, accommodating for the increase in traffic and the increase in population as you grow, and also try and make it better for those of you that are already living in the area by creating these noise barriers and noise walls to just make sure that you can continue to enjoy the serenity that you have right there on Lake Sammamish. So that's all I've got. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Jordan. For those that have joined us, I see there's a few more than when we started. My name is Mary Lou. I'm the mayor. We also have 3 council members with us here this evening for the community meeting. The next part on our agenda this evening was question and answer, and we did have a few submitted early. The first one, Jordan, lucky for you, is I think you'll be able to answer it. The question was, what will happen to the bus service on the 271 bus that usually runs both directions on Lake Sammamish past our neighborhood, and how long will it be impacted?
Great question. Yes. So our project team did work with the King County Metro. They worked with David Freeman. They put up a sign right now that says that the stop on that route is temporarily closed, but they are rerouting the bus, and they too are following the detour route. So on either side of the closure, you should be able to still catch that bus. It's just going to be a little bit of an extended route, is my understanding from King County Metro. So just be sure to check their schedules. But we did work with them just to inform them of this closure. And again, should only be for 90 days, so towards the end of October.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Jordan. The other question that was submitted in advance was about adding signage for Blackberry Park. And when will that happen? And Blackberry Park was added to our park plan several years ago. It is listed as a project, but the timing is still not clear. So we're not sure when that is going to get approved or get into the council budget. So we'll have to provide you updates from that as they happen. Now, we did not have any additional questions submitted ahead of time, but you have us for another half an hour if you would like. So if you weren't here at the beginning of the meeting, if you are actually using WebEx, there is an option for you to raise your hand, which Autumn had pointed out earlier. And if you have called in and you want to ask a question, you can raise your phone. Autumn will be able to see your hand if you push *3. So if you would like to do either of those, you can also in the chat box, if you're in the WebEx format, put a question in there. And I see that Michelle and Adam have a question. Okay, and I think this one is for you again, Jordan.
That's right. Yeah. Let me
read it out. Sure. Let me read it out loud first so that those that are on the phone can hear it.
Oh,
so it says, in the map, wall 6A looked like it extended all the way to the West Lake Sammamish exit, but in the rendering, it doesn't look like it extends very far westward. Can you clarify how far it goes?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you want to shoot me an email, I can send you our actual engineering mileposts and so forth. If there's other questions coming up, I will try and pull those up while we're here on the phone and see if I can get you that answer now. But I'm also happy to send those maps to you to show you exactly where that wall is going to be.
That would be great, because if you can include Autumn in any correspondence, she'll be able to share it with any of the folks that have signed up for the meeting or our contacts. There's also a comment in here, Jordan, from Eileen. It says, thank you for being so responsive to the emails. Thank you for adding the do not enter signs to stop people from driving eastbound on the westbound lane. Also, how are bikers notified about walking their bikes if they want to go eastbound? They are riding their bikes down the westbound lane towards the state park.
Great question. So we, again, have noticed that there's been some confusion with both drivers and bicyclists. So our flaggers have been out there for extended hours, and they've been asking bikers personally to please dismount and to walk that direction. If the flaggers aren't there, I believe they've tried to leave some signage out there asking them to follow that guidance as well. But if there isn't any signage out there or anything, please let me know. I can also drive out there and check it out just to make sure. But we certainly want to make sure that we're keeping people safe, both bicyclists and drivers and cars. So please let me know that, and I'd be happy to try and get that taken care of. But they should be hearing it from the flaggers that are on site there during those hours.
Great. Autumn, are you seeing any other raised hands? Nope.
I am not, Mayor Polly.
Okay, but we do have a question from Karen.
Yes.
How long do you anticipate the Jersey barriers to be in place for the current access to westbound 90 from near Sunset Elementary?
Yeah, those Jersey barriers that you're talking about, I am familiar with. They're right there by milepost 13. If any of you have entered on that on-ramp, it's just right off of, I think it's Lakemont Boulevard, and it goes westbound towards Seattle. That definitely feels like a bit of a squeeze when you're coming on I90. So one of the things that we've done to address that is we did add some signage on I90 recently alerting drivers of the merging vehicles. But to answer your question more directly in terms of how long the Jersey barriers will be there, they're going to remain there until we're done building that wall, wall 6A. So again, that could last through this winter, but the entire project does last until fall of 2021. My understanding is they're going to try and shift them over once that wall is done, but they may end up having to stay there for the duration of the project just until all the new striping is in place. But we're really trying to do everything we can to add signage and trying and alert drivers just so they know that there are those oncoming vehicles. I've driven it myself 4 times. I went out there. I'm very familiar with it, so I know that it is a bit of a short, quick ramp up there. But just trying to make it as safe for people as possible. We'll definitely try and move those barriers as soon as we're done doing the work safely on the other side of them.
Great. Jordan, there's a couple other comments in here too. I think it does need to be verified whether there is signage or not for the bikers. There's a couple of comments that talk about that being really important.
Okay.
There's also a question about the signage for exit 13 needs to be more clear. It's so dangerous. But Eileen, if you are on the, how would we identify? Oh, Eileen. Okay. If you could unmute Eileen. I wonder, Eileen, if you could tell Jordan what it is about the signage that is dangerous so that he understands your concern more clearly.
Okay. Hi, this is Eileen. Sorry, I meant the exiting from West Lake Sammamish towards like Eastgate, which Karen Lawrenson referenced. It needs to be more clear because I saw a sign, I'll say shortly after exit 15 that said lane closed ahead. But that was almost a mile and nothing. And then when we're coming from West Lake Sam onto I90 at that roundabout exit, it is so dangerous because the cars are still right there. They do not move. And it's really hard, like even if I'm up to speed, it's not about that. It's about having the opportunity to merge into the traffic. So I don't know that I have an answer on how to create better signage or tell people to move over because there just really isn't enough space there for a car that's already going 60, 70 miles an hour. And then we're coming off a ramp that they don't even see us coming up until we're right there.
Eileen, that's super helpful. It's Jordan's job to figure out what the signage improvement should be. It was just you to explain what you were experiencing that felt so dangerous. So
Thanks.
Thank you for doing that.
Thanks.
Yeah, we will definitely take responsibility for that signage and making sure that it's clear. I know that we received several concerned emails just in the last week, and I brought it up with our project office as well as with our project engineer, that's James Harper. And so I know that they are in discussions of it. We had a meeting on Tuesday about it. My understanding is they did add some signs on I90 alerting people to try and merge over, but it sounds like maybe those signs aren't quite enough. So let me bring that back to the project office and just let them know we've received some more feedback that maybe there does need to be a little more signage. But I completely understand. Again, I've driven it myself. I know it's pretty quick because you're kind of coming up a hill and you don't really see the traffic coming, and then they don't really see you coming. So I completely understand kind of that pinch point there. So I will alert the project office that maybe we need a little bit better signage there to really try and help people move over accordingly. So
that is great, Jordan. I think what we really appreciate is that you're taking so much time to listen to the people who drive this every day, because it's their driving experience that really informs, how safe they feel as they do it. So thank you for doing that. And then, Autumn, do you see any other hands raised for questions?
I don't see any hands, but I do see another comment. I was contemplating if the grass was trimmed so we can at least look up to the left. One comment from Karen.
On that same
area,
approach. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see one hand raised. Marina?
Yes, hello, my name is Marina Andreeva, and it was a question about the noise wall, and I live in Mirwood, and it's on 191st place, or 191st Avenue, and I kind of have this concern too. It looks like the wall will stop somewhere on 193rd, on 194th Avenue. So could you please show, I'm looking so I can see the map. Can you show how long this wall will be? Now I see it started with just one house, along the lake. What about the people who live in the Mirror on around 192nd or condominiums actually by us? Yes.
Let me
So
see
Jordan,
if I can find that
yeah, that'd be good if you
I
could
can
pull
kind
it
of
up.
retrace if you,
Yeah, let me try and find 192nd.
Yes, because I'm really interested if it will be a wall by that, because it's really, really noisy how it is already.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What's the intersection with the 192nd? Is there another intersection near there?
It's 192nd Avenue at intersection South Lake Sammamish Parkway and 192nd Avenue. It's an intersection.
Hi, this is Matt Ellis. I'm a staff engineer, and I do have the answer for that. That will have a sound wall in front of it. What we're talking about is just the retaining walls being shifted back, but for quite a long ways along between Northwest Sammamish Road and I90, there will be a sound wall that will protect. So the Muirwood will be protected by a sound wall.
So it will be because I wanted that it will stop before us and we will still.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. I'm Jordan. Colton joined us later this evening and wanted to know a little bit more about the surface again of the washed-out right-of-way that is being lowered down to the West Lake Sammamish elevation. The question was, will there be a wider bike lane, and if that will be paved yet on West Lake Sammamish? And you had talked about it will be finished with asphalt and some gravel. I wonder if you could explain that a little bit more.
Certainly, yeah. And just real quick, I started sharing my screen here. Hopefully this will help kind of see where those walls are going to be right along that West Lake Sammamish Parkway. And it looks like that 192nd, as Matt Ellis was saying, is somewhere right in here towards the middle. So we'll go all the way from Lakemont all the way down here towards the end of the lake. But yes, in terms of let me pull up the specs that I was sent earlier today with exactly what's going to be finished on that part of the road. Give me just one moment. Okay. So it shows, the specs show us paving back the existing shoulder up to where the old wall used to be. And then the space between the old wall and the new wall is going to have 6 inches of crushed rock. Crushed rock. And so if you were to go back to that one slide that showed kind of that black area, that's where we're anticipating would be Issaquah's future work. For bike lanes and pedestrian things. So I think Matt Ellis could probably talk to that one a little more, but that's essentially what we're going to be doing is right up into that existing shoulder. It's going to be paved, and then there will be 6 inches deep of crushed rock all the way to the end of where the wall is.
So Jordan, before we turn it over to Matt, if I heard you correctly, the pavement is only going to be as wide as it is now, and the additional flat area will be in gravel.
Yes,
okay.
Correct. Yep.
And do you mind me asking, sorry, thank you guys so much for answering this question and doing this. Is that for drainage issues, or is that just because Washington doesn't see that as their responsibility to pave that section?
Good question, Matt.
That's a good question. Yeah, so it's kind of both, but mainly drainage is the main factor on that. Because basically, if you think about behind the wall right now is pervious, and water can go into it. And if we had paved it, it would go beyond our threshold for treating the stormwater. So we need to be able to come up with a system of fixing that portion that will become paved. And so that's part of our design and why we can't just quickly pave it right after WashDOT is done with their work. So unfortunately,
Matt,
we're a little limited.
That's a state requirement, correct? That you
correct.
Cannot pave it unless you put in the stormwater utility at the same time, which is one of the reasons why the estimate for the project seems high, because I've had many questions from the neighborhood about if it's just adding some paving, why would it be that much money? But we have to do the paving and we have to do the stormwater work together. We can't do the paving first.
Unfortunately, that is correct, yeah.
Okay. Colton, was that what you were asking, or is there more to your question?
No, that 100% answers what I was asking about. I've grown up in this neighborhood and have now moved back to this neighborhood with kids, and we've always dreamed of being able to ride our bike down to kind of where PCC and connect to the rest of the bike trails. And when we joined Issaquah, because we used to be unincorporated King County, that was one of the big selling points for joining the city of Issaquah, was the ability to ride our bikes and join the trail systems and really be a part of the community. And so that makes sense why it's so expensive to do it now. And hopefully we will be able to complete that at some point in the future.
Yeah, this is mayor's opinion only, but I do believe if we use the transportation benefit district that the council approved several years ago to go out to the community for a bond, this is a project that I think is really well suited to that list. So my opinion only.
Absolutely. Anything the neighborhood can do when you get to that point to help raise signatures and push it, we'd all be happy to help out with that.
Not that we're allowed to take sides, but we sure would be happy if you took a side. We have to remain neutral, but boy, oh boy, get everybody out you want. That would be great. I am looking back at the list. Colton seems to have had the last question. Are there any other questions, or Autumn, do you see any other raised hands?
I don't see any other raised hands, but for anyone that's joined us via phone, a reminder that *3, you can raise your hand so that I can unmute you if you have a question.
And while we're waiting for that, I just want to say thank you to the neighborhoods for setting up a meeting with us. It has been a dream of mine, and one of the reasons I ran for mayor to make sure that we had more of these connections. So I appreciate you taking a sunny summer night to spend chatting with us. And if there are no more questions, I see Deputy Council President Ray. I was actually going to go to the council members and ask if they had any closing comments. It's great that we could have 3 of them here tonight to hear this. It's great that it's taped and the rest of our council can watch it as well. But let's start with Deputy Council President Ray.
Well, first, thank you all for being here. Jordan, thank you for the presentation. Matt, thanks for being here and helping us. And Autumn and Thomas, thanks for pulling this together. My comment that I really wanted to make has nothing to do with tonight's meeting other than this was really awesome. But on the 4th of July, one of my favorite Issaquah traditions is our parade. And through some brilliance of our city administrator and our most inspired mayor, we did the mobile taking the parade to the city. And we went through, I don't know, 8, 9 different neighborhoods. And the South Lake Sammamish neighborhood just rocked my world, because your neighborhood was so engaged and so turned out. And it just, it just absolutely made my day to see everybody out there and engaged and having a really great time. And it's a neighborhood that I think has so much character and charm. And I'm just thrilled to have an opportunity to spend an evening with you all and listen to kind of what's happening in your world. So thank you for being here, and thank you for making Issaquah the great city that it is.
That was great. Thank you, Deputy Council President Ray. Councilmember DiMichele.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time. I have many fond memories of the South Lake Sammamish area. I have a nephew that lives in your area, and a great nephew. And so Christmases are where we spend our time at their house. And so my memories of that area are very special. And I am familiar, my nephew and my great nephew and my nephew's wife are all bicyclers, and I understand completely this great desire to be able to bicycle from their house to Issaquah. And so I'm hoping that being on the council that we can find a solution for that problem. So I just want to thank everybody for participating tonight. I know when I ran, and I think when everyone on the council ran, we are very eager to have meetings like this with neighborhoods and to hear from people and what your concerns are. And if you think of something after this is over, please feel free to email us and let us know. And we will try to respond as fast as we can. So thank you again for being here. And I really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, Barb. And before I go to Councilmember Hall, Barb, just something clicked in my brain when she was speaking. I just wanted to let everybody know that in order for the Washtop project to proceed, your city council did approve an allocation of up to $3 million for the Washtop project to ensure that this retaining wall would be built. This is a once in a lifetime, your only chance to grab a piece of road. And I was very proud and excited when they approved that allocation. Now my task to Jordan and his team is don't use it. It's there as a contingency. And if the project doesn't need it, the Issaquah City Council will be able to reallocate that for something else. But we were very proud to partner with you and very proud to put some money on the table for this project because it is hugely important to this neighborhood. Now, Councilmember Hall, to bring it all home, we'll go to the local guy.
That's right. Don't touch that money. No, I'm just kidding.
That money. We need that money.
This is Zach Hall. Yeah, Northwest Sammamish Road has always been at the top of my list for projects that I'm interested in. Like I said, I grew up in South Cove. I grew up biking down Northwest Sammamish Road to the state park or to the IHOP fields for soccer practice. So I have a lot of fond memories in that neighborhood. I've since moved up to the Issaquah Highlands into an apartment, but I miss it there. And like Colton, I hope to go back to that neighborhood one day. I really, really do like it. And it's just filled with positive, nice people. I like it there. So anyways, thanks for joining us. Thanks for letting us council members listen in. I'm so happy that our council is so supportive of this community, and feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions or comments on anything.
Thank you, Councilmember Hall. I also want to do a special shout out to the staff for working with us tonight. Thank you, Autumn. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Matt. And Jordan, thank you for coming and talking about that project. It's so important to the neighborhood and it's given our city such an amazing opportunity to get a little piece of this project. So thank you for that. So as Councilmember DeMichelle said, if you have other issues, the city council at issaquahwa.gov email address is the place to send questions. All of us are on that one email address. We like hearing from you, good things and bad things, whatever we need. And please, for all your neighbors that couldn't make it tonight, nobody needs to feel bad about it because it's taped. So just tell them you enjoyed it and send them a link to it and say you should watch this. We learned a lot and that would be great. And I'm just so proud that our council can come and join me and do these community meetings so that you really get to meet them, which is awesome. This is great. So thank you for the opportunity. Everybody have a good night.